Okay, welcome back to Gut Check Time. I'm your host. Today we'll be talking about Wild Card Weekend. It's NFL playoff time. Before I talk about that, can you please hit that like button? Please subscribe down below. It really helps out the channel. Thank you. Okay, first game we're going to talk about Buffalo versus Houston, the 5 seed versus the 4 seed. Both have the same record though. They're both 10-6. Bills are on the road though, 2.5-point underdogs. I think it's going to be a really good football game. I think it's the second best football game of the weekend, in my opinion. There's one game that stands out that I could see going as blowout. The other three, I think, are going to be really close, really tight games. This is one of them. To me, Houston is going to have to push the ball down the field because with their offensive line issues, I don't see them being able to run the ball. And I also don't see them being able to put together methodical drives to move the ball slowly on this Bills defense. It's a very good defense, and you're going to have to attack it the way the Patriots did. Maybe establish the run early, and even if you're not having success, at least establish it. Like I said, I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball, but establish it to make them say, guess what, we're going to at least try to run the football, and then hit a lot of play action passes off that down the middle of the field and deep to DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's how you're going to beat this team. Buffalo, run the ball at Houston. It's that simple. I think if you can run the ball at Houston, hit some intermediate bootleg play action type plays and get Josh Allen on the run, you can easily win this game. And I actually think that's what's going to happen. I think Buffalo's defense is going to be able to stop Houston, make him one-dimensional, throw it all over the park. Deshaun Watson throws over 40 times in this game. They will not win this game. He has to throw it under 35 times for them to win this game. They can't become one-dimensional. They will lose that way. That's why I like Buffalo. I think Buffalo can run and pass on this Houston Texans defense, and I think the difference in this game is the Buffalo Bills defense. So I'm taking Buffalo 26-21, and I'm taking Buffalo plus 2.5 over 43.5. Next up, Tennessee versus New England. I'm going to take New England to win this game for the simple fact everyone is picking Tennessee. Everyone is saying this is the end of the Patriots dynasty. And don't get me wrong, I love that. I just don't see it happening today. I'd see it happen next week at Arrowhead Stadium. I do expect this to be a close game, though. And I have the score being New England 24-23 for the simple fact I think these teams are pretty similar. Both quarterbacks are kind of iffy. I know that's crazy to say about Tom Brady, especially at home. He's 20-3 as a quarterback at home, and I don't think – but most of his losses have come in the wild card weekend. There's only one I can think of that have come in the divisional, and that's versus the Jets. That's the only one that comes to mind. I don't think he's ever lost an AFC Championship game at home. Actually, I'm pretty damn sure he's never lost an AFC Championship game at home. But yes, both these teams just remind me of each other. Both iffy quarterbacks, both okay offensive lines, not great. Tennessee has played great in the second half of the season, though, ever since Taylor Lewan got his legs under him after being suspended. And you also have Derrick Henry at running back. That's the key difference in this game to me. If Derrick Henry can get going versus the Pats defense, which the Pats defense, that is their weakness. They're not very good at stopping the run, and you have the leading rusher in the National Football League going against an average run defense. So if Derrick Henry can get going, I think they can beat the Patriots. The problem is, I think they're going to load the box, play man-to-man, and dare Ryan Tannehill to beat him. And I just don't believe in Ryan Tannehill that much. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's been playing out of his mind the last 6 weeks of this regular season. So I don't see him doing that today. But I will say this. It's just like the Buffalo and Houston game. If Deshaun Watson throws over 35 times, I don't think the Texans win. Same thing with Ryan Tannehill. If he throws over 35 times, they definitely don't win. And the key stat is if Derrick Henry can rush for over 125 yards, Tennessee wins this game. There's no way they don't win this game if you rush for over 125 yards. But I'm going to take New England because I don't think those things are going to happen. So New England 24-23. I'm taking Tennessee minus 4.5 or plus 4.5 though, and I'm taking the over of 44.5. Next up, number 6 seed 10-6 Minnesota Vikings travel to New Orleans versus the 3 seed 13-3 Saints. The over-under is 49.5, and Minnesota's getting 8 points. This is a legacy-defining game for both these quarterbacks. I think Drew Brees is starting to be recognized as a top 7-8 quarterback of all time, and that's where I think he deserves to be ranked. But some people still don't have him there. If he can go on a run and win this Super Bowl, he will be ranked in the top 7 quarterbacks at least of all time, and I think he deserves that. I don't think he deserves top 3. I don't think he's better than Montana. I don't think he's better than Brady, and I don't think he's better than Manning. But I do think he can get up, and even in that 4 conversation with Elway and Staubach, Marino, those type of guys. For Kirk Cousins, he has to win a big game. He's 0-8 on Monday Night Football games. I don't think he's ever won a playoff game. I'm pretty sure of that. And his record versus plus 500 teams, which obviously the Saints are, is terrible. So he needs to be better today, and this can be a legacy-defining game. If he goes in the Superdome and beats the Saints as an 8-point underdog, that erases to me most of that stuff. because this is going to be his hardest game of his career, the one where he's probably most doubted, and this is why he's most doubted. I'm taking the Saints, and I think they win pretty handily. I think they're going to win 30-20, so in a playoff game, 10 points is pretty handily. And I'm taking New Orleans -8, and I'm taking the over 49.5. Also, Minnesota has to take away Michael Thomas. If they allow Michael Thomas to beat him, this is going to be a long day. You got to make Ted Ginn and Traquan Smith beat you. Next up, Seattle versus Philadelphia. Two teams that are riddled by injury. Obviously, Rashad Penny will not be playing running back anytime soon for the Seattle Seahawks. Same with Chris Carson. So they went on to the scrap heap, got Marshawn Lynch, who didn't do much last week, and Robert Turbin, who also didn't do much. They relied on Travis Homer, the rookie from Miami, and he played okay. But the Seahawks need a running game. You know, I look at Russell Wilson as elite quarterback, but then you look at the numbers, and the numbers tell you he absolutely needs a running game to be elite. I believe there's a stat out there on something like if he gets over 150 rushing yards a game, his record is just really good. Where if it's under 150 yards, it's just average. And you know, when you watch him, you think, man, that guy's really an elite quarterback, top 5. But then you look at those numbers, you like, usually if you're a top 5 guy, you carry the team, or you're able to carry them for most of the game, and then you can rely on the running game in some parts. To me, he needs the running game and absolutely needs it. I forget what the stat was, but like I said, his record is just so much better when he's over 150 yards or 150 yards rushing. I don't see that happening Sunday versus Philadelphia, even though they have Zach Ertz banged up, questionable with broken ribs. Lane Johnson questionable, hasn't played since week 14. They both practiced a little bit this week, so I think they'll play. But then now Nelson Aguilar is out. I mean, he's been having to throw to Greg Ward Jr., who was a quarterback at the University of Houston, now a wide receiver. But I think Philadelphia wins this game. I've said all year Seattle's the worst, whatever week it was, whatever their record was, team I've ever seen. When they were 9 and whatever, I said they're the worst team. 10 and whatever, the worst team. And now they're 11 and 5, and I said they're the worst team. They're just not that good to me. I don't know how they win these games. Their point differential is something just mind-boggling. It's like plus 20. You're winning. You have won 11 games, but you only outscored your opponents in the 16-game schedule by 20 points. That's crazy. And that kind of tells me something. So I'm going to take Philadelphia to win the game. Philadelphia's going to win this game 23-20. The under is going to play the under here with 45.5 and take Philadelphia plus 1.5. I just think they're the better team right now, playing better, won their last 4 games. And they're at home. Seattle does play well on the road, though. That doesn't make much of a difference. They're 4-4 at home this year, 7-1 on the road. So they are a better road team. But I just see Philadelphia being able to stop the run, especially with their front four that they have with Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and those guys up there, Derek Barnett, etc. So I'm taking Philadelphia, like I said. That'll do it for the wild card weekend. Stay tuned for my divisional picks later next week. And also my college football playoff prediction for the final game between LSU Clemson. It's going to be a really good game. Thank you for watching. Please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. Thank you.